The lovely the Urban Development Strategy and Implementation Committee. Richard, welcome.
Thank you.
So everybody's reasonably familiar with this. I think one of the things that we wanted to look at was a refresh of the terms of reference, such that if people could not be there, that they could actually have deputies, which have other people represent.
Or alternates.
Alternates is the word, because at the moment that's not a process that works.
Right. To change the terms of reference that apply to the UDSIC, that would need to be a decision made by the UDSIC, so that would probably need to be a paper that was discussed and put through the kind of framework that exists to support that particular committee.
Okay, so, I mean, there's a meeting tomorrow.
There is a meeting tomorrow,
Two of our people are not going to be able to be there.
Right.
So someone will have three and we'll have one, which is a bit weird.
It has been something that's been discussed on a couple of occasions, and ultimately the decision at the committee was to retain the three and not have alternates, and so it's not an issue which has not been discussed. It has been, and that's been the...
I was there for some of the discussion. That was very entertaining. But I'm not sure how we actually ask for this, whether it has to be one of you guys who asks for it, Phil. It might be better when there's more than one of you there.
Well, we've got it by Richard in this too, but yeah, there could be, it may be that we could re-raise the issue and make our case, especially with Christchurch City Councillors being particularly busy and the Mayor being away today as an example.
Okay, Paul.
Or tomorrow she'll be away.
I think it's incredibly important as we're going through the refresh process that there is an opportunity that we have full representation, and I think that may be the case to actually re-ask the committee to actually look at alternatives, because it's going to be important that we have the proper input through that refresh process.
Okay, so if we ask the committee representatives and to look at that for future, then you guys can do that, and you can know that the council has asked you to do that.
Maybe as part of the refresh process.
I could also ask through the CE's advisory group.
That's probably, yeah, a good way of doing it. Okay, debate. Yanni, then Andrew.
I just wanted to make a comment on what Councillor Lonsdale had just said. I think, given the importance, that's been raised, it would be good if we were to add to this resolution that we request our representatives on this body to raise this issue.
Sorry.
That's all right. Given the issue that has been raised, particularly the issue of the importance of this that has been raised by Councillor Lonsdale, it would be good, I think, if as part of our decision today, we were able to add a number 3 that said that we request our representatives on this body to raise the issue of alternates and discuss it. So,
okay.
And then they can say, Council passed a resolution asking us to do this, so that they're actually fully representing the city, not just putting their own opinion forward.
So you'd like to move that, and you'll just give the words to those guys?
Yep.
And somebody will second it. Somebody will check it and second it. Right. Okay.
One question.
Yanni was next, and then you. Yep.
Two things. One is, it's interesting to note on page 453 that it was even noted that the 12th of February clashes with the council annual plan meeting, and yet they still didn't change the dates. But on page 455, I'm really trying to understand the rationale. I mean, we've got this memo which doesn't really explain why they've suddenly delayed this visioning exercise, and I am really questioning whether, this is even the right process, and whether we can't use existing processes like share an idea rather than reinventing and huge duplication of marketing, comms, and just seems like this process is slowing down when it could just get underway with existing structures because they want to create a new structure. So what's behind the delay, and have we thought about other ways of achieving it within the time frame, like using our existing resources and campaigns?
So, in terms of the memo, that was a summary from the independent chair, who's Bill Wasley, and that's yet to be discussed at the UDSIC. So that will be discussed tomorrow. So that's all we have at this point in time, and I agree it's reasonably brief, but I think the concern was that we rush ahead with what would be quite an expensive, time-consuming, resource-hungry 3-day workshop without really necessarily having it sufficiently well sorted out what it needed to achieve. So that was the reason for the delay. In terms of the papers that are going up to the UDSIC tomorrow, I think the desire is to refresh the document and do that in a slightly more lean and mean fashion, rather than necessarily go into a workshop at this point in time. But I think the recognition is that there needs to be a wider piece of work longer term to look at what the UDS is, what it seeks to achieve, how it's going to continue to operate. So at the moment, and this will be debated tomorrow, so I can't foreshadow what that debate will look like and what the outcomes will be. But that's the kind of the view at the officer level at this
And
point
we could
in time.
appoint you as a proxy for tomorrow, but we
It's
can't.
pretty significant, but we're not going to have no representation. We're spending quite a lot of money on this process, and we don't really have any say, and we don't have any chance to see what's being discussed tomorrow. So I'm really unhappy about this. Could we not suggest that this gets delayed to the next meeting where we have representation given and get a briefing to the full council before, so we can have a collective position?
Well, I think the majority of the cost associated with the UDS refresh was associated with the workshop. So if the workshop's not going ahead, then a lot of the costs will drop out. I mean, these meetings are set at the beginning of the year or a long time in advance, and it's difficult because all the other attendees from NZTA, Ngaitahu, CEL and WIMAC ECAN need to be there as well. It's very difficult to defer items and then or change dates, certainly at this late stage.
Okay, so I haven't got any suggestions of amendments or anything, so I'm going to put what's here.
Well, I'll move under 2, that that the council understands it will be discussed at tomorrow's UDS meeting, and given that we don't have representation at that meeting due to a scheduling conflict.
We do have some, I hope.
Full representation.
We've got one as
representation.
opposed to
We ask that the matter be deferred so that the full council can consider the report and we can have full representation.
Are you asking for the workshop to be deferred?
The report, they're not doing the workshop, they've already cancelled that. So we put up, was it 800 grand or 600 grand or 400 grand, or how much money did we put in? I can't remember. We put in I thought it was several $100,000 into this process. They've now cancelled it, or going to discuss cancelling it. And if you look at the dates, I mean, obviously the workshops haven't occurred, so they have cancelled it. And we don't really have any understanding.
I can understand completely where you're coming from. I'm just not sure that the council doing this actually has any impact on this outfit. That's the difficulty I have with the outfit.
So they take our money and they do what they
No,
want.
I'm not.
I mean, we have representation on it, and that's the way it works in a collaborative leadership style.
So just in terms of this is a minute to us, really. It's not, what do you want to do about it, is it? It's like they're not really
That's
asking
correct.
for
It's simply an update, and the purpose of these updates was because while we have 3 representatives on the UDSIC, it was simply to provide the rest of council with an update on what occurs at those meetings. So hence the reason for the minutes. And I guess the other matter I'd like to bring to your attention is that this will now sit with Helen Beaumont from now on in. So any resolutions might fall in her lap, which is
Richard, what would happen
convenient.
if Selwyn decided to go ahead, for example, with their special housing project, which was outside the recommendations of the UD? What would the UDSIC do?
The decisions like that go back to council for their making. So the whole, my interpretation of the way the UDSIC works, it's very much a collaborative leadership style. So it's not a decision-making committee as such. So major decisions about things like Hasher Accords or anything else really need to come back to the individual territorial authority or other authority to make that decision.
We did actually raise our concerns, both Phil and I, around that housing accord impact.
The Selwyn one, yeah. Okay, I'm not sure that whatever we pass here is going to make a blind bit of difference, actually. So to be completely blunt about it.
It's not going to make a difference.
But I think the terms of reference would be incredibly useful to review such that when somebody turns up to be a proxy for somebody else, they're not sort of having to go through a half-hour process while the chairman decides.
Look, I think simply the view was that it was good to keep consistency of attendance, and the problem with
Yeah, no, I'm not
proxies is...
seeking a justification. The process was awful, so I'm just, yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure that anything we pass here, Yanni, have you got actually an amendment?
No, I mean,
No, I don't think it's
people
going
don't
to.
want us to put them in.
Okay, so I'll put the information that's here, can I put that? It's moved by somebody. Who's willing to move this? Pauline, seconded Dave. For that, those in favour, please say aye. Those opposed, carried. Thank you. Item